Learn to act as if nothing bothers you. Imagine this. You wake up one morning and the world feels heavy. Your phone buzzes with notifications, emails, messages, and reminders that seem to pile up endlessly. There's a knot in your stomach because you know the day ahead will test your limits. Maybe it's a looming deadline at work, an unresolved argument with a loved one, or simply the weight of expectations you've placed on yourself. Sound familiar? It's not just you. So many of us feel trapped by emotions we can't control, overwhelmed by failures we didn't see coming, or crushed under the pressure of trying to live up to impossible standards. Before we begin, tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it there? The truth is, life isn't always kind. It throws curveballs when you least expect them, and sometimes it feels like the universe has conspired against you. But here's the thing, you have more power than you realize. The real question is, are you willing to take it back? Are you ready to learn how to act as if nothing bothers you, not because you're indifferent, but because you've mastered the art of staying calm and focused no matter what comes your way? Let's talk about self-mastery. Self-mastery isn't about pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about understanding your emotions, thoughts, and reactions so well that you can choose how to respond instead of being controlled by them. Think of your mind as a garden. If you don't tend to it, weeds will grow unchecked. Those weeds are negative thoughts, self-doubt, and fear. But when you take charge, when you water the right seeds, pull out the weeds, and nurture what truly matters, you create a space where peace and clarity can flourish. One of the most powerful tools for self-mastery is mental resilience. Resilience doesn't mean never feeling pain or frustration. It means acknowledging those feelings without letting them define you. Picture yourself standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain lashes against your face, but you remain steady. Why? Because you've built an inner strength that allows you to weather anything. How do you build that strength? By practicing mindfulness, by reframing challenges as opportunities, and by reminding yourself that every storm eventually passes. Now, let's talk about selective indifference. This might sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. Not everything deserves your energy. Some battles aren't worth fighting, some opinions aren't worth considering, and some people aren't worth pleasing. Learning to let go of what doesn't serve you is one of the most liberating skills you can develop. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with rocks. Each rock represents something that weighs you down: a grudge, a fear, a regret. What would happen if you started putting those rocks down, one by one? You'd walk lighter, breathe easier, and see farther. That's the power of selective indifference. Another key principle is the strength of silence. In a world obsessed with noise, social media updates, constant chatter, endless distraction, silence is a superpower. Silence gives you space to think, to reflect, and to act intentionally. When someone tries to provoke you, instead of reacting impulsively, pause. Take a deep breath. Let their words hang in the air while you decide whether they even deserve a response. Often, the most impactful thing you can do is nothing at all. Control over your words and actions speaks volumes about who you are. Focus on tangible action. Too often, we get caught up in overthinking or worrying about things beyond our control. Instead of spinning your wheels, ask yourself, what can I do right now to move forward? Even small steps add up over time. If you're facing a challenge, break it into manageable pieces. Tackle one piece at a time, and before you know it, you'll have made significant progress. Remember, success isn't about grand gestures. It's about consistent effort. To help you visualize this, think of a river flowing through a forest. The river doesn't stop when it encounters obstacles like rocks or fallen trees. It adapts. It finds a way around, over, or through. Sometimes it slows down, other times it rushes faster, but it keeps moving forward. That's the mindset you need to cultivate. Life will throw obstacles your way, but you have the power to adapt and keep going. Here's the beautiful part. All of these principles start from within. True strength doesn't come from external validation or material possessions. It comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and having the courage to live authentically. When you embrace this philosophy, you'll find that acting as if nothing bothers you becomes second nature, not because you don't care, but because you've learned to prioritize what truly matters. Let's dive deeper into how you can practically apply these principles in your daily life. Because, let's face it, understanding the theory is one thing, but putting it into action is where the magic happens. So, how do you start acting as if nothing bothers you? How do you make this mindset shift? Not just a fleeting thought, but a way of life. The first step is Awareness. You need to become an observer of your own behavior. Pay attention to how you react when something doesn't go your way. Do you lash out? Do you spiral into self-doubt? Or do you freeze, unsure of what to do next? These reactions are clues. They show you where you're vulnerable and where you need to grow. Awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. Once you see what's there, you can begin to address it. Next, practice emotional regulation. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means managing them effectively. One technique that works wonders is the pause and breathe method. When you feel triggered, whether by criticism, failure, or frustration, take a moment. Pause. Breathe deeply for 5 seconds. Then ask yourself, is this situation worth my energy? Will it matter a year from now? Most of the time, the answer is no. By creating that tiny gap between stimulus and response, you give yourself the power to choose how to act rather than reacting impulsively. Another powerful strategy is reframing challenges as opportunities. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. The path is steep, the rocks are slippery, and the wind is fierce. It's hard, right? But every step you take brings you closer to the summit, where the view is breathtaking. Life is like that mountain. Every challenge you face is shaping you, teaching you, and preparing you for something greater. Instead of seeing obstacles as roadblocks, see them as stepping stones. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? Now, let's talk about consistency. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It's built through small, consistent actions over time. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't brush once and expect perfect dental health forever. You do it daily. Similarly, building mental resilience and emotional control requires regular practice. Set aside 5 minutes each day for reflection, journal your thoughts, meditate, or simply sit quietly and observe your mind. Over time, these habits will strengthen your inner foundation. One of the most overlooked aspects of personal development is celebrating progress, no matter how small. Too often, we focus on what's still missing instead of acknowledging how far we've come. Did you handle a tough conversation better than you would have last month? That's progress. Did you resist the urge to check your phone during a quiet moment? That's growth. Celebrate these wins. They remind you that change is possible and motivate you to keep going. Here's another analogy to drive this home. Think of your mind as a muscle. Just like physical muscles, your mental and emotional muscles need exercise to grow stronger. Every time you choose calm over chaos, patience over frustration, or action over avoidance, you're doing a rep. And just like lifting weights, the more reps you do, the stronger you become. Eventually, acting as if nothing bothers you won't feel forced. It'll feel natural because you've trained yourself to respond that way. But what about the people around you? Relationships can be a major source snowballing stress if you're not careful. Here's a practical tip. Set boundaries. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your time, energy, or emotions. Be clear about what you will and won't tolerate. And don't apologize for protecting your peace. Some might call this selfish, but it's actually the opposite. It's self-respect. When you honor your limits, you create space for healthier, more meaningful connection. Finally, let's circle back to the importance of selective indifference. Remember, not everything that happens in your life requires a reaction. Some things are simply noise background static that distracts you from what truly matters. Train yourself to filter out the unnecessary. For example, if someone criticizes you unfairly, ask yourself, does this person genuinely want to help me improve, or are they just projecting their own insecurities? If it's the latter, let it go. Save your energy for constructive feedback from people who genuinely care about your growth. Now, here's the part where I challenge you. Take one principle we've discussed today and commit to practicing it for the next 7 days. Maybe it's pausing before reacting. Maybe it's reframing a challenge as an opportunity. Whatever you choose, stick with it. At the end of the week, reflect on how it impacted your mindset and behavior. Small changes lead to big results over time. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We all struggle, we all face setbacks, and we all have moments when we feel like giving up. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't often comes down to persistence. Keep showing up for yourself, even when it's hard, even when it feels like nothing is working. Trust the process, trust your ability to adapt, and trust that every effort you make brings you closer to the person you're meant to become. Let's take a moment to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Acting as if nothing bothers you isn't just about personal resilience, it's also about creating a ripple effect in your life and the lives of those around you. When you embody calmness, focus, and strength, it doesn't just stay within you, it radiates outward, influencing your relationships, your work, and even your community. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who seem unshakable, no matter what happens. What do they have in common? They exude a quiet confidence that inspires others. Their presence alone can make chaos feel manageable. That's the kind of energy you're capable of cultivating when you commit to mastering yourself. When you stop allowing every little thing to rattle you, you become a source of stability for others. You show them that it's possible to navigate life's storms with grace and purpose. Now, let me share something deeply personal. I used to be someone who got easily rattled by external circumstances. A harsh comment, a missed opportunity, or even a minor inconvenience would send me spiraling into self-doubt or frustration. It wasn't until I realized how much of my energy was being wasted on things I couldn't control that I decided to change. And guess what? The transformation didn't happen overnight. There were days when I failed miserably, when old habits crept back in, and I reacted impulsively. But each time I learned. Each failure became a lesson, and slowly but surely, I began to build a stronger, more resilient version of myself. One of the most profound shifts came when I started focusing on what I could control instead of obsessing over what I couldn't. This simple yet powerful mindset shift changed everything for me. For example, if I received negative feedback at work, instead of dwelling on it or taking it personally, I asked myself, is there truth in this feedback? Can I use it to improve? If yes, great, I'll apply it. If not, I'll let it go. By shifting my focus from emotion to action, I took back my power. This leads us to another critical point. Action is the antidote to anxiety. When you're feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or unsure, the best thing you can do is take one small step forward. It could be as simple as writing down your thoughts, making a phone call, or going for a walk. Movement creates momentum, and momentum builds confidence. The key is to start where you are with what you have and trust that progress will follow. Let's talk about fear for a moment. Fear is one of the biggest barriers to acting as if nothing bothers you. Whether it's fear of failure, rejection, or judgment, it has a way of paralyzing us. But here's the truth. Fear is normal. Everyone experiences it, even the most successful people you know. The difference lies in how they handle it. Instead of letting fear dictate their actions, they acknowledge it, then move forward anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to act despite it. I want to share a story that illustrates this beautifully. A few years ago, I met a young entrepreneur named Sarah. She had poured her heart and soul into building her business, but after months of hard work, she hit a wall. Sales were stagnant, investors weren't interested, and doubt began to creep in. Many would have given up at that point, but Sarah chose to reframe her situation. She told herself, this isn't failure, it's feedback. She went back to the drawing board, analyzed what wasn't working, and made adjustments. Within 6 months, her company turned a corner, and today, it's thriving. What set Sarah apart wasn't luck or talent. It was her refusal to let setbacks define her. So, what's your Sarah moment? What challenge are you facing right now that feels insurmountable? I want you to pause and really think about it. Now ask yourself, how can I approach this differently? What's one thing I can do today to move closer to a solution? Remember, you don't have to solve everything at once. Just focus on the next right step. Here's another practical exercise to help you internalize these principles. At the end of each day, write down 3 things. 1, one thing that bothered you today and how you handled it. 2, one thing you're proud of accomplishing, no matter how small. 3, one thing you'll do differently tomorrow to strengthen your mindset. This daily practice will keep you grounded, help you track your growth, and reinforce the lessons we've discussed. As we wrap up this segment, I want to remind you of something important. Acting as if nothing bothers you doesn't mean you stop caring. On the contrary, it means you care enough to protect your peace, nurture your potential, and invest in what truly matters. It's about finding balance, being fully engaged in life, while maintaining an inner sanctuary that remains untouched by negativity. Before we conclude, I'd like to invite you to join our growing community of individuals committed to personal growth and meaningful change. Subscribe to Simple Psychology Hub where we explore topics like this one in depth, offering tools, insights, and inspiration to help you thrive. And if you're watching this video and thinking, wow, this resonates, please share it with a friend. Together we can spread the message that true strength comes from within and that anyone can develop it with the right mindset and effort.